What you're about to see was caught on camera. Strange lights drifting over cities, unexplainable creatures moving through the dark, mysterious sounds rising from the ocean, and machines flying where no one knows who sent them. These moments weren't imagined, they were filmed, and to this day, no one can explain them fully. This is a look at some of the most bizarre events ever captured on camera. Let's begin. The Phoenix Lights, a massive silent craft over Arizona. On the night of March 13th, 1997, one of the most famous mass UFO sightings in modern history unfolded across the skies of Arizona. Just after sunset, residents from as far north as Henderson, Nevada, down to Tucson, Arizona, began reporting something strange, a formation of lights, unlike anything they had ever seen. It all started with a single call. A man near Henderson claimed he had seen a massive V-shaped object pass silently overhead. It had 6 lights along its leading edge and moved in an eerie gliding motion. Moments later, other reports flooded in. Families pulled off the road and stared at the sky. Police dispatchers fielded dozens of calls, and home video cameras captured shaky footage of glowing orbs drifting slowly and deliberately across the darkness. Witnesses described different versions of the same event. Some swore it was a single, enormous craft that blotted out the stars as it passed overhead, something bigger than a football field. Others believed it was a collection of separate moving lights in perfect formation. Regardless of the details, one thing was consistent. It moved slowly, silently, and with an almost unnatural grace. As media coverage exploded, pressure grew on the authorities to offer an explanation. The U.S. Air Force eventually stepped in, claiming that the lights were nothing more than flares dropped during a training exercise at Luke Air Force Base. According to them, the flares, suspended by parachutes, would have drifted slowly across the sky before burning out. But not everyone was convinced. Many witnesses insisted that what they saw couldn't have been flares. Flares don't move against the wind. They don't maintain a tight, symmetrical formation for hours across a stretch of hundreds of miles. And they certainly don't create the impression of a solid object passing overhead. Even Arizona's governor at the time, Fife Symington, who initially dismissed the event with jokes during a press conference, later admitted he had seen the lights himself. He described the craft as otherworldly, a term that reignited speculation and drew even more attention to the mystery. Over the years, theories have poured in. Some suggest the lights were a top-secret military craft, perhaps a massive stealth blimp being quietly tested. Others believe it was something far more extraordinary, a massive extraterrestrial craft, casually observing human civilization. Skeptics argue it was the perfect storm of military activity, optical illusions, and mass hysteria. But even today, decades later, the Phoenix Lights still remain one of the most compelling unsolved aerial mysteries in history. No one has ever definitively proven what appeared in the sky that night, and those who witnessed it have never forgotten what they saw. Were the Phoenix Lights simply a misunderstood military exercise? Or was something truly unknown passing silently above us, hidden in plain sight? The mysterious spiral over Norway. On December 9th, 2009, residents of northern Norway witnessed one of the strangest and most breathtaking phenomena ever captured on camera. Just before sunrise, a massive spiral of light appeared in the sky, spinning slowly and perfectly over the snowy landscape. It was unlike anything people had ever seen before. A brilliant blue-white spiral with a darker beam of light shooting from its center, hovering motionless for minutes before vanishing into darkness. Videos quickly surfaced showing the spiral in extraordinary detail. The light seemed almost too perfect, as if drawn in the sky by some unseen hand. The spiral widened, expanded, and rotated steadily, creating an almost hypnotic visual that left thousands in awe and confusion. At first, theories spread wildly. Some believed it was the opening of a wormhole, a portal to another dimension. Others were sure it had to be some sort of massive UFO or alien experiment playing out above the Earth. The sheer size and symmetry of the spiral only fueled the sense that something extraordinary was happening. Hours after the first sightings, the Russian military issued a statement claiming responsibility. They said the spiral was the result of a failed test of a Bulava missile launched from a submarine into the White Sea. According to their explanation, the missile's third stage malfunctioned, causing it to spin uncontrollably and eject fuel in a spiraling pattern, creating the dazzling visual in the sky. While many experts agreed the missile explanation was plausible, not everyone was satisfied. Skeptics pointed out that no similar missile failure had ever produced such a perfectly symmetrical, stable spiral for so long, and the sheer brightness, clarity, and complexity of the pattern seemed beyond anything seen in previous rocket mishaps. Other theories quickly followed. Some believe it was a secret weapon test involving advanced technologies like electromagnetic propulsion. Others speculated that the spiral was tied to the Large Hadron Collider experiments happening at the time, stirring fears about unintended consequences. And, of course, the UFO community saw it as a possible sign, an attempt at communication, or a visual distortion caused by something not of this earth. Even today, the Norway Spiral remains a source of fascination and debate. Was it simply the accidental beauty of a failing missile? Or was it something far stranger, a glimpse into forces and technologies we barely understand? What do you think created the Norway Spiral that morning? An ordinary accident? Or a brief window into something extraordinary? The Fresno Nightcrawlers, strange figures caught on camera. In 2007, a home security camera in Fresno, California captured something strange moving across a quiet front yard in the dead of night. A tall, thin figure, almost skeletal in shape, glided across the lawn with an unnatural floating motion. It had long legs, tiny torso, and no visible arms, their movements smooth and unsettling, like something not meant to walk this earth. The footage quickly went viral. Viewers struggled to make sense of what they were seeing. The figure was pale white, almost glowing against the grainy night vision footage. It didn't run, it didn't stumble. It simply drifted forward, like marionettes on visible strings. Skeptics were quick to offer explanations. Some said it was someone in loose pants walking oddly through the yard. Others claimed it was a puppet or a clever hoax, designed to trick viewers looking for the paranormal. But investigators who visited the site later pointed out that recreating the figure's proportions, especially the impossibly long legs and small torsos, would have been difficult without obvious signs of staging. In 2011, a second piece of footage surfaced from the Yosemite National Park. A security camera meant to catch trespassers captured two similar figures gliding silently across a wooden path. Their movements were nearly identical to the one seen in Fresno. Smooth, deliberate, and unsettling. The fact that two separate videos, taken years apart, seemed to show the same creature only deepened the mystery. Some theories suggest the Nightcrawlers are cryptids, a new, undiscovered species living in isolated parts of California. Others believe they could be extraterrestrial scouts, sent to observe without interacting. There's even a theory that they might be spiritual entities, their strange appearance and behavior fitting old Native American legends about walking spirits tied to the land. Skeptics still argue that the videos are simply hoaxes, clever special effects pulled off with puppets or editing tricks. But to this day, no one has conclusively proven how either video was faked, and no one has captured anything quite like them again. The Fresno Nightcrawlers remain one of the most bizarre and unsettling creatures ever caught on camera. Were the Nightcrawlers real visitors? Something natural, supernatural, or extraterrestrial? Or was it simply one of the best executed mysteries of the internet age? The Black Knight Satellite, alien probe, or space junk? High above the Earth, orbiting silently in the darkness, a strange object has captured imaginations for decades. They call it the Black Knight Satellite, a mysterious dark mass that some believe could be an ancient alien probe, quietly watching humanity. The story of the Black Knight stretches back almost a century. In the late 1800s, inventor Nikola Tesla claimed to have detected strange repeating radio signals, something he believed might have come from beyond Earth. Fast forward to the 1950s, when American and Soviet forces, deep in the Cold War, began picking up unexplained objects in orbit, long before either side had launched large numbers of satellites. Newspapers even reported the discovery of an unidentified dark satellite circling the planet, confusing military officials and scientists alike. But the legend truly exploded in 1998 when NASA released photographs taken during the STS-88 space shuttle mission. In several of the images, a strange dark object floats high above the Earth's atmosphere. It looks jagged, asymmetrical, and alien, nothing like the polished satellites we normally see. To some, it was undeniable proof that something ancient and unknown was orbiting our planet. NASA offered a simple explanation. They claimed the object was just a piece of space debris, specifically a thermal blanket that had come loose during the shuttle's assembly of a satellite. According to them, the unusual shape and lighting created the illusion of something far more mysterious. But not everyone was convinced. Many pointed out that the object seemed far too large and strangely structured to be just one piece of loose material. Others argued that Tesla's early radio signals, strange orbital readings from the 1950s, and the STS-88 photos all pointed towards a much older presence in our skies, something humanity had overlooked or perhaps chosen to ignore. Theories about the Black Knight vary wildly. Some believe it's an alien observation post, quietly monitoring Earth's development across the centuries. Others think it could be a relic from a long-lost advanced civilization, maybe even remnants from before human history as we know it. Of course, skeptics still insist it's nothing more than debris and a series of coincidences stitched into legend. Still, when you look up at the night sky and think about what might be drifting silently overhead, it's not hard to wonder. Is the Black Knight satellite just another piece of space junk? Or is it proof that we've never really been alone? The Gable Film, the mysterious Dogman encounter. In the early 2000s, a strange piece of old home video surfaced online, a grainy reel of footage that would quickly become one of the most chilling alleged cryptid encounters ever caught on tape. It has become known as the Gable Film, and what it seems to capture has haunted viewers ever since. The footage looks innocent at first. It's clearly from the late 1970s or early 1980s, shot with an old 8mm film camera. It shows a family enjoying a day in the woods, chopping wood, riding snowmobiles, laughing together. It feels genuine, a simple glimpse into someone else's personal life. But as the film continues, a sense of unease begins to creep in. Towards the end of the footage, the camera operator turns and spots something in the distance, something moving fast across an open landscape. At first, it's hard to make out, just a blur of dark fur and powerful limbs. As the cameraman adjusts his focus, the figure becomes clearer, a large, hunched creature walking on all fours but built unlike any animal native to Michigan. It moves fast, almost predatory. And just as the cameraman seems to realize what he's seeing, the footage violently cuts out. For years, people speculated wildly about the film's authenticity. Some believed it captured the elusive Dogman, a creature said to roam the forest of the Midwest, standing taller than a man with the body of a wolf and the intelligence of a predator. The Dogman legend had existed long before the internet, with sightings reported back as far as the 1800s. To believers, the Gable Film was undeniable proof that the creature wasn't just a myth. Skeptics, however, had other ideas. Some pointed out inconsistencies in the film stock, clothing styles, and even the behavior of the creature itself. Eventually, it was revealed that the Gable Film had been a part of an elaborate hoax created by a filmmaker who loved local legends. The creature was, in fact, a man in a carefully crafted costume. An entire film was shot with vintage equipment to mimic the look of an old home movie. But even after the hoax was exposed, the Gable film still lingers in the minds of many. Because if someone could recreate such a convincing encounter, it raises another question. How many so-called hoaxes might actually be real, dismissed before they could even be believed? Could the Dogman legend have some truth hiding behind the layers of folklore and fabrication? Or was the Gable film simply a brilliant work of fiction, one that came a little too close to feeling real? The ghost car that vanished through the fence. It started as a routine police pursuit, a late-night traffic stop that quickly turned into something far stranger than anyone expected. In 2003, dashcam footage from Garden City, Georgia captured a bizarre event that still defies easy explanation. What began as a simple car chase ended with the vehicle seemingly disappearing into thin air, leaving officers stunned. The chase began when officers attempted to pull over a white car driving erratically. Rather than stopping, the car sped away, weaving dangerously through the streets and intersections. Police pursued closely, their dashcam recording everything. For a while, it looked like a typical chase, high speed, sharp turns, a suspect trying to outrun the law. But as the pursuit continued, the driver pulled ahead and made a sudden sharp turn into what appeared to be a dead-end, chain-linked fence stretched across the entire road. There was no exit, no way through. The officer braced themselves, expecting the car to crash or get trapped, but instead, the car seemed to pass through the fence without slowing down, and vanished. When officers reached the spot moments later, there was no sign of impact, no broken fence, no car, just an empty stretch of road as if the vehicle had simply ceased to exist. The footage was later analyzed and rewatched countless times. Some suggest the car found a hidden gap in the fence, an opening not visible from the dashcam angle. Others speculate it might have squeezed through a narrow space at just the right moment. But many who reviewed the scene firsthand said there was no gap, no break, no place the car could have escaped without being seen. Naturally, theories spiraled. Some believe the driver was incredibly lucky and found a perfect escape route hidden by darkness. Others suggest a more paranormal explanation, that the car somehow phased out, slipped between dimensions, or became what some call a ghost car. The term stuck, and the footage earned a permanent place among the internet's collection of unsolved video mysteries. To this day, no definitive explanation has been agreed upon. The car, and whoever was driving it, was never identified. Was it simply a clever, lucky escape that played tricks on the camera? Or did the officers chase something that wasn't entirely bound by the rules of this world? The O'Hare Airport UFO, a disc over Chicago. On November 7, 2006, one of the most credible UFO sightings in modern history unfolded over one of America's busiest airports. That afternoon, airline employees, pilots, and passengers at the Chicago's O'Hare International Airport all reported seeing something impossible, a perfectly round metallic disc hovering silently over gate C-17. The first reports came from a ramp worker who noticed a strange dark object hanging motionless just above the airport. Soon after, pilots, baggage handlers, mechanics, and even people inside the terminal were staring upward. Witnesses described a solid metallic disc, dark gray in color, rotating slowly and completely silent, with no visible wings, lights, or propulsion. It hovered in place for several minutes, right in restricted airspace, before shooting straight up into the sky with such speed and force that it left a clean, circular hole in the cloud layer above. Several employees reported the incident immediately to their supervisors, but officials at United Airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration were quick to downplay it. The FAA at first claimed there had been no unusual activity on radar. Later, they suggested the witnesses had simply seen a weather phenomenon, possibly a hole-punch cloud created by ice crystals falling through the atmosphere. But for many of those who saw it with their own eyes, that explanation didn't make sense. They insisted on what they saw was a solid object, not a trick of weather or light. Pilots, some of the most trained observers of the skies, described it as unmistakably mechanical, something real, something manufactured. The incident gained national attention when a Chicago Tribune reporter broke the story, forcing the FAA to acknowledge that at least one report had been made that day. Freedom of Information Act requests later uncovered internal FAA communications where employees discussed the event, joking nervously about UFOs over O'Hare. As with so many incidents involving unknown craft, theories multiplied. Some believe the disc was a secret military vehicle operating far outside known aviation technology. Others think it was a true unidentified flying object, extraterrestrial or otherwise, watching one of the busiest transport hubs in the world before disappearing without a trace. Skeptics maintain that despite the credibility of the witnesses, the event can still be explained through natural phenomena or human error. But there's something about the O'Hare sighting that refuses to fade, something about the sheer number of trained, credible observers that made it harder to dismiss. Was the disc over O'Hare a secret project hiding in plain sight, or a brief glimpse at something not made by human hands? The bloop, the mysterious sound from the deep. In 1997, deep in the South Pacific Ocean, something colossal made a sound that no one could explain. It was picked up by hydrophones, underwater microphones used by the National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration to monitor for things like submarine activity and seismic events. What they recorded would become one of the most chilling and mysterious sounds ever captured. They called it the bloop. The sound was deep, loud, and incredibly powerful, so loud in fact that it was detected by multiple sensors thousands of miles apart. It rose in pitch quickly, almost sounding organic, like the distant call of some living creature. Scientists determined that for a sound like that to occur naturally, it would have to come from something far larger than even a blue whale, the largest known animal on Earth. Some thought it could be an undiscovered giant creature lurking in the depths, something from the darkest, unexplored regions of the ocean where sunlight never reaches. Others wondered if it was geological in nature, the sound of massive ice movements shifting under the weight of the southern oceans. There were even those who whispered about ancient monsters, legends of leviathans too big and too old to be cataloged by science. Years later, the NOAA offered a possible explanation. They suggested that the bloop was likely caused by the cracking and fracturing of a giant iceberg, a phenomenon known as cryosism. It made sense, but still, something about the original recording didn't sit right with everyone. The bloop had a strange tonal quality, one that felt disturbingly biological, almost alive. It's true that we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deepest parts of our own oceans. Vast stretches remain completely unexplored, untouched by humans. And in those crushing black depths, it's entirely possible that things exist, things bigger, stranger, and older than anything we've ever imagined. Was the bloop just the sound of ice breaking in a remote corner of the world? Or was it the call of something ancient, massive, and still hidden far below the waves? The creature under the bridge in Kyiv. It started as a simple exploration, just a group of friends filming under a pedestrian bridge in Kyiv, Ukraine. They weren't looking for anything unusual, but what they captured on camera that night has viewers left unsettled ever since. At first, the footage looks normal. A shaky flashlight beam cuts through the darkness, revealing cracked concrete, old graffiti, and dripping pipes. The sounds of footsteps and nervous laughter echo in the empty space beneath the bridge. But then, something moves. The footage is shaky and low light, but it's clear enough to see the structure of the bridge. Not the road surface, not the sidewalk, but the metal support beams beneath it. The kind of place no person should be walking, let alone climbing. And that's where the figure appears. At first, it's hard to see, just a shadow clinging to the underside of the bridge's metal framework. Then it starts moving. Long limbs, a slow, crawling posture. It clings to the underside of the bridge like an insect, carefully shifting its weight across beams as it makes its way beneath the structure. The movement is unsettling. Whatever it is, it's comfortable crawling through a space where falling means certain death. There's no safety net, no visible equipment, just a humanoid shape creeping along a place no human should be. The footage ends without confrontation. There's no reveal, no zoomed-in face or obvious costume, just a figure climbing through darkness and then disappearing into the night. Some viewers believe it's simply an urban climber, someone exploring the bridge from a dangerous angle, possibly for thrills or video views. But others point out the way it moves, the body shape, the limb positioning, doesn't quite match a person. It looks too long, too inhuman. A few have speculated it could be an animal, maybe a large monkey or stray creature. But what kind of animal climbs upside down on narrow steel beams in the dead of night in the middle of a city? Of course, some think it's something far stranger, a creature adapted to hidden architecture of cities, something that lives beneath bridges, tunnels, and structures where no one looks, watching, moving, staying just out of sight. Is this just a daredevil climbing where he shouldn't have been? Or did the camera accidentally capture something we were never supposed to see? The New Jersey drone sightings. Who's behind the mystery? In early 2024, strange lights began appearing over the skies of New Jersey. Clusters of drones flying in coordinated patterns spotted over cities, suburbs, and even near restricted airspace. At first, the sightings were brushed off as harmless, just hobbyists perhaps, or small private companies testing new technology. But as the reports kept coming, and the drones kept appearing without any official explanation, the mood began to change. Eyewitnesses described groups of drones flying in grid-like patterns, maintaining perfect distances from each other as they hovered silently above residential neighborhoods. In some cases, the drones were seen near airports, raising alarms about safety and possible surveillance. Authorities launched investigations. The FAA, local police, even federal agencies became involved, trying to track down who was behind the mystery. But no individual, company, or government agency ever claimed responsibility. The drones weren't broadcasting identification signals as required by new FAA regulations. They seemed to appear without warning, fly predetermined paths, and vanish, often before law enforcement could even react. Some believed it was a private tech company running unauthorized tests. Others thought it could be a foreign government probing America's defenses in ways that didn't leave obvious fingerprints. Still, others wondered if something stranger was happening, an unknown group experimenting with autonomous drone technology, or perhaps even preparing for something larger. Skeptics argue that the drones were likely just a coordinated prank or an underground tech project, one that spiraled beyond what creators intended. But others aren't so sure, because in a world where skies are increasingly crowded and technology is advancing faster than regulation, the idea of unknown machines flying overhead, with no answers and no accountability, is unsettling all on its own. Was the New Jersey drone sighting just another example of technology outpacing law enforcement? Or was it a warning sign that something, somewhere, is testing the limits of what can be hidden in plain sight?